Oh my God, I'm so excited to chat with you today because we are going to get into a topic I'm extremely passionate about. And I have been practicing for years and years and years and years. And I know how much it's going to help you, especially if you are someone who has painful periods, which I'm assuming you do if you clicked on this title. I have seen this work time and time again with all of my clients. It is just so freaking amazing. So we are going to just dive right into it because you know how we roll around here. I also have Madison with me, my daughter. She, at the time of recording, she's 2 months old, but she has been on and off with napping today. So I don't know how much time we're going to have. So we're just going to get right to it. Okay. So my number one tip, if you are someone who has cramps, whether you have cramps on a scale of 3 to 10, anywhere in between, my number one recommendation for you is to eat more plants, to adopt a more plant-based diet. And I'm going to get into exactly why, how it supports you, action steps you can take, but that is my number one tip, no matter what level of cramping you have. Maybe you have endometriosis. Maybe you don't know if you have endometriosis, but you just have debilitating cramps so you can't get out of bed. I've literally had clients before where she had to take multiple clients where they had to take Percocets or some kind of painkiller because they could not get out of bed with debilitating cramps. And now they are doing yoga on their period. They're feeling great. They have no cramps whatsoever. And it all goes back to having more plants in your diet and adopting a more plant-based lifestyle. And we're going to talk about why. But let me give you a little backstory quick so you know, like, just my history with this. In case you didn't know, I am plant-based. I've been plant-based since 2016. I became vegetarian in 2014. And then I became fully plant-based in 2016. And before I was plant-based, before I was vegetarian, I used to have debilitating migraines. Literally every single month, it would be so painful. Think like laid out in bed, all the lights out, because any type of light coming at me would make it 10 times worse. I couldn't even sleep, honestly, because when my head hit the pillow, it was like kind of like up my neck and up the back of my head. So laying down was even painful. I used to have to be on medication for it. It was this huge blue pill. I'll never forget it. It was in this white case, this big blue pill that I hated taking because honestly, it made me feel like really weak and shaky and just like out of it. But I didn't think there was any other way. I didn't think there was any other solution. This wasn't even a solution though, because if I didn't take it, the second a migraine started, it wouldn't work. So it was just totally pointless. It made me feel really nauseous. The migraines in general would make me feel nauseous. Like it was absolutely horrible. I would get random, quote unquote, random body rashes. I had rashes all over both of my legs once. It was when I was teaching at the time. So I used to be a teacher for 9 years and I was chaperoning a college field trip. I'll never forget it. And the day before I woke up and I had rashes all over my legs. I tried oatmeal bath. I tried coconut oil. I tried all these things. Nothing worked. I had to go on steroids for it. I used to get rashes underneath my armpits, random ones on my face. I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So I was someone who like could really never go to the bathroom. Like I remember wasting so much freaking time just trying to poop. If you know, you know, it is freaking horrible. I felt like 6 months pregnant after I would eat. I was so bloated. I mean, the list goes literally on and on and on. When I did get my period, because my period was totally irregular my entire life, but when it made its appearance like 3 times a year, Midol was my BFF because I had cramps. Like it was a hot mess express. And this was all before I became plant-based. Okay. So 2014, I became vegetarian, and that's when all my migraines went away. I literally never had a migraine since. And I didn't even put two and two together. I was living home at the time. I was teaching. Actually, the woman that I was co-teaching with, well, not co-teaching, she was just a teacher in the same department. I was a Spanish teacher at the time. She was vegetarian. So she was really helping me with like what to eat. Cause I'm like, I don't freaking know what to eat. I don't know what to do. But the reason why I was cutting meat out at the time was because I had a really weird experience with chicken at a diner. And chicken was really the only meat that I ate at the time. And the only reason why I did not go back to eating meat was because one day my mom was like, hey, you haven't had a migraine in a couple months and that's it since you cut out meat. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize it. Cheers or kudos to moms for realizing this. Of course she would notice it. And I was like, holy shit, that's literally the only reason why I never went back to eating meat was because of that. And I still have never had a migraine since. Obviously I have so many other reasons now, but that was it at the time. Anyway, all of the things persisted. Then I went fully plant-based in 2016. I remember I was also feeling like super puffy. Like I had like excess weight on me. I'm super short. I'm only 5'1". So even 5 to 10 pounds is a lot on someone my size. And I just felt like extremely puffy. It ended up being inflammation. But literally all of this changed when I became plant-based, except I then lost my period because I didn't know how to properly do it, which is really, really important. I'm going to talk to you about that in this episode. My period was irregular before that, but then once I became fully plant-based in March of 2016, my period went MIA for 2 years until I learned how to properly be plant-based. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, am I going to have to go back to eating meat to get a period? Like, fuck, I don't want to do that. Like, what's going on? And that's like a fear that I had. Obviously it didn't happen because I've still been plant-based ever since. I ended up getting my period. My period ended up being regular. I got pregnant on the first try with Madison. Obviously so much more went into it, but I had a beautiful plant-based pregnancy. I'm exclusively breastfeeding now. Milk is like flowing. She's growing so well. I feel great postpartum. Like, so all of this is to say, I am such a proponent of plant-based living. And obviously that doesn't mean you have to be totally plant-based. This is not all or nothing. It's just really what we're talking about today is if you do have cramps, just humor me and incorporate a mostly plant-based, mostly or all plant-based diet for like literally probably as small as a month, enough to like see an actual cycle come and see how much it improves month over month over month. Like you will literally be amazed. And obviously now I'm going to talk to you about like why this is happening, why this helps it, and like actual action steps. I want to give you a background of my experience with plant-based eating and how I've seen time and time again with my clients, it helps them so much. Again, not just with cramps, but that's just what we're talking about in this episode, because I've been getting a lot of DMs lately about like, oh my God, I have cramps. What do I do? What do I do? And literally this is my number one tip. Number freaking one tip is this. Okay. So here's why. First of all, plants are anti-inflammatory, right? Inflammation is a root cause of cramps. So one place they come from are from inflammatory prostaglandins. If prostaglandins, they're lipids in your body. They're like these hormone-like substances that affect a lot of different bodily functions, including inflammation, pain, and uterine contractions, aka cramps. Okay. So these prostaglandins will stimulate the uterine muscles to contract. And if you have too many inflammatory prostaglandins, it's going to cause them to contract even more and cause you to have a lot of painful period, a lot of painful cramps. But our body has 3 different types of these prostaglandins. They're called PGE1, PGE2, PGE3. Now, thankfully, because our body is amazing, we have 2 forms, the PGE1 and PGE3. Those are anti-inflammatory, anti-spasmodic. So they're like natural painkillers pretty much because they're anti-inflammatory. We have 2 of those and we only have one, the PGE2 is the only one that actually causes uterine contractions and pain. So we have double the amount of anti-inflammatory prostaglandins than we do inflammatory prostaglandins. So what we have to do is have to incorporate more anti-inflammatory foods into our diet so that they could be working in our favor. Okay. Because they're there. We have them there. We just have to stimulate them. We just have to activate them. And what happens when you have too many cramps, which comes from inflammation, which can come from dairy, come from animal fats, comes from obviously other things in your body too, like environmental things, stress, all of that. But right now we're just talking about nutrition. It's going to cause these inflammatory prostaglandins to run the show, even though there's only one of them, right? But so we have it working in our favor. We just have to support it so that these anti-inflammatory prostaglandins can actually support us. Okay. And there is so much research that shows that dairy and saturated animal fats increase inflammation in your body in general, and specifically these PGE2 inflammatory prostaglandins that's leading you to cramps. I have a whole nother episode on dairy specifically on how if you do have excess estrogen in general, which again, inflammation can cause excess estrogen, which we're going to get into in a second. And this can cause cramps, this can cause PMS, this can cause mood swings, acne, migraines, any of those things, breast tenderness. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms, I really recommend listening to the episode on dairy. And I go into how dairy increases the estrogen in our body and how it leads to these excess estrogen symptoms, which will affect your period, it'll affect your fertility, it'll affect everything. So I'm not going to go all into the dairy aspect right now because I have a whole episode on that. what I'm going to focus on in this episode is really talking about the inflammatory and anti-inflammatory side of things and how you can easily start incorporating plants, because I really want you to take action after this episode, because it's going to make a difference. Like I'm 100% positive if you are doing this in the right way, meaning like you know how to properly pair your foods together and stuff like that, which we'll talk about, you are going to see a difference in your cramps. Okay. So I'll put that dairy episode below. So after this, go back and listen to that, because it's really important for you to know that from an estrogen standpoint as well, especially if you're someone who is experiencing painful periods, which obviously you are if you're listening to this episode. Okay. So maybe you are someone that has endometriosis. So endometriosis is an inflammatory disease. Okay. Inflammation is also the root cause of PCOS. Inflammation also causes autoimmune disorders like Hashimoto's, like arthritis, things like this. And inflammation is really just like the root cause of so many diseases in our body. And obviously we just talked about it being the root cause of cramps. This is why I have an entire module in the Mind Your Hormones method talking all about inflammation. It's really centered around improving your gut health. Because aside from inflammation, we really have to be working on our gut in order to improve our cramps, which is why plants are so important, because your gut feeds off of good bacteria, right? And plants add to the good bacteria in your gut. We also have something called the estrobolome in our gut, which is what helps up like produce and flush out, the easiest way to explain this, flush out excess estrogen in the body. So when we are incorporating a lot of plants, or when our gut is off, let's just say when our gut is off from having a lot of dairy, a lot of animal products, a lot of, sugars and processed foods and all these things, it's going to negatively impact our body's ability to get the excess estrogen out of our body. So what happens is our liver processes and metabolizes our hormones, our excess hormones, our metabolic waste, anything that we don't need, processes and metabolizes it, moves it onto the gut. The gut packages it up into poop, and we poop it and eliminate it out of the body. But if your gut is off, it's not going to be able to do that. And when that happens, estrogen recirculates back into your system, causing excess estrogen symptoms like cramps, PMS, mood swings, breast tenderness, acne, migraines, all these things, which I talk more into detail into in that dairy episode. So definitely go back and see that, because dairy like literally has estrogen in it. So go to the previous podcast, because I'm not going to just like repeat myself from that. But this is another reason why plants are so supportive for this, because we want to make sure that our gut is able to actually properly eliminate this excess estrogen out of the body instead of recirculating it and causing these symptoms. And plants are the way to do that, because fiber is what really packages all this up. Insoluble and soluble fiber, it packages it all up and it gets it out of the body through poop. So if you are also constipated, and people be like, oh, I'm not constipated, I poop every day. I'm like, okay, just because you poop every day doesn't mean you're constipated. Is your poop hard? Is it like little balls? Is it just once a day and not a lot? Do you feel like it's complete? Do you feel like you need to go more? Like, we should really be pooping at least twice a day. Like, really, in my holistic nutrition training in the school, they always would say like one poop per major meal a day is like what we really want to aim for. It should be like a banana, like soft serve ice cream. So if it's not looking like that and it's not coming out easily, then you're probably somewhat constipated, which is very common for people who do experience these symptoms and these cramps. Another thing that could be experiencing is constipation, and that's just leading to more of these problems. Okay. So I could just go on and on about this, but here's what I want you. So what I really want you to get out of this is that the reason why my number one tip for you, if you do have painful periods, having more plants, is because they're anti-inflammatory. Like, plain and simple, that's the exact reason, is they are anti-inflammatory. Plants are literally healing in your body, and they will reduce the inflammation in your body. They'll also lower blood pressure and cholesterol and all these other things that are so freaking amazing. So it's not just about cramps. I truly believe plants have the power to heal pretty much anything in your body if you know how to do it properly. Just like anything else, we have to know how to actually do it. But it's because of the inflammation piece. So I'm not going to make this more complicated than it needs to be and just go on and on about it. That is what it is. So what I want you to do are these 2 action steps. Number 1 is to start having a plant-based breakfast. That is it. Just want you to start with that. So if you're someone who maybe is having like omelets, or like with sausage and bacon, or I don't know that's like pretty much the only kind of breakfast people would have that have animal proteins in it. I want you to have a plant-based breakfast. That could look like a smoothie. It could look like overnight oats. It could look like oatmeal, just like warm oatmeal. It could look like tofu scramble, anything like that for your breakfast. I'm going to put a link below to a free training that I have, which is going to be really important, especially if you are obviously going to do this and be plant-based. I want you to do it in a hormone supportive way. It's a free training on how to create hormone balanced meals. And it's all obviously because I'm plant-based, I give all plant-based examples. And there's also a tutorial in there of how I make my hormone balancing smoothie. So definitely go download that. I also have a free 3-day plant-based meal plan that you could download as well to get some ideas. I'll put that link below for you too. But that's number one action step, is just starting your day with a plant-based breakfast. You want to make sure you have a protein, a fiber, and a healthy fat in there, which I teach you in that training. So for example, what this could look like for overnight protein oats. You have your organic rolled oats. You have a scoop of protein powder. My favorite protein powder is Booby Body. I'm obsessed with it. It's so freaking good. You could use code Corinne Angelica to get a discount off of that. That's really awesome if you are pregnant or postpartum. I also really like Sun Warrior, which I think it's code Corinne Angelica 15 for that. I'll put it in the show notes for you to get a discount. And then I also like Truvani. I don't have a code for Truvani, but I like that one as well. So you could do rolled oats, scoop of protein powder, 2 tablespoons of a healthy fat, which is so freaking important. We have to have healthy fats. That is a huge thing with plant-based eating that a lot of people miss. And this is what I miss, is why I did not get a period, because I was not having enough healthy fats. Healthy fats are what help us produce cholesterol, and cholesterol helps us produce our hormones, our sex hormones. So we need to have this. And when you become plant-based, you naturally reduce your cholesterol because you're not having animal fats. We want good cholesterol though. So we have to make sure that we're having healthy fats in our diet. So you have the rolled oats, you have the protein, you have the healthy fats. You could do 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds, 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds. You could do sunflower seed butter, whatever like that, but just 2 tablespoons of it. And then some type of fruit, whether it's organic berries, organic, like bananas, whatever you want to have in there. That's literally it. So freaking simple. You have your protein, you have your fiber, all of its fiber, the fruit, the oats, the seeds, like all of it, plants or fiber, and then you have your healthy fats and you're good to go. Okay. So that's an example. Watch that free training because I go into it in more detail. So that's your number one action step. Your second one is to just swap a meat-based meal with beans. So for example, if you are having like a salad with grilled chicken for lunch, I want you to take that grilled chicken out of it and add chickpeas or black beans. I would also like you to add some quinoa on there to get some healthy carbs in there. Add avocado to have your healthy fats, something like that. Or if you're just having like a sandwich for lunch, like cold cuts or something, which like, let's just all agree we should just not ever, or very, 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 very rarely ever be having that. It's like so crazy to me that when people become pregnant, they tell them, okay, you're not allowed to have cold cuts. It's like, if it's not safe to have when pregnant, we should just never be having it. But anyway, it's a whole other tangent. So if you're just having a sandwich or something, do like a brown rice wrap with sprouts or lettuce and avocado and chickpeas and tomatoes. There's so many different options for you. So those are the 2 action steps. Number 1, have a plant-based breakfast. Download that training to help you get some ideas in the free plant-based meal plan. And then number 2 is to swap a meat-based meal with beans. So again, even if it's a dinner, if you're doing like sweet potatoes and vegetables, and you usually have like, I don't know, steak or chicken or whatever, just take that meat out and do beans instead. Chickpeas, lentils, black beans, cannellini beans, there's pinto beans, like whatever type of bean you want, throw that in there. And that's also going to help in just so many more ways than just swapping out the meat. It's the biggest form of insoluble fiber. That is what's going to really grab on, acts like a mop, and it grabs onto all the excess hormones and toxins and metabolic waste and everything in your body. And it helps really support your liver and get everything out of the body. It is so freaking powerful. So it's just benefiting you in way more than just helping with cramps. So those are your 2 action steps. I want you after this to commit to doing this. If you're someone who has painful periods, because I know how much it's going to help you, please let me know how this episode resonated with you. If you do start doing this and you notice a positive difference, which you will if you're consistent with it, come and tell me, because I love hearing from you. And if you are listening to this in real time and you are someone who is like, I really want to be all or mostly plant-based, but I don't know where to start. I don't freaking know what to eat. I don't know how to have enough protein or calcium or iron. I don't know what to do in social situations. I do have a program around this that's actually on like a flash sale right now if you're listening in real time. If you're not listening in real time, it's still always available because it's a self-paced program that I ran live last year at the time of this recording. So check the show notes out for more information about it if you want to get access to it. It's really going to help you just become all or mostly plant-based, one meal at a time, in a simple way to help you really improve literally every area of your life that I've been preaching about this entire time. So that will be in the show notes for you too. Whatever you want to do, whatever step you want to take, if you experience cramps, please know that I have seen so much improvement in my clients, literally from painkillers to being able to go to yoga on their period because they adopted a plant-based lifestyle. Actually, one of them came to me, she was already plant-based, but she wasn't doing it in a proper way, which is kind of what prompted me to create a program on how to properly do plant-based. Because again, I lost my period when I was plant-based because I didn't know how to properly do it. So there's always and again, this isn't, when I say plant-based, I should have preface this by whole food plant-based. Doesn't mean have like Oreos and pasta all day long, right? Whole food, plant-based. And again, this is not all or nothing. If you're like, Corinne, I don't want to totally give up meat. Like I want to have a hamburger at barbecues once in a while or whatever. It's never all or nothing. I really don't believe in that. Obviously, your results are going to depend on how much and how consistent you are with it, but it does not have to be all or nothing. Just start again with the breakfast and swapping out a meat-based meal, whether that's lunch or dinner, with beans. And just by doing that, you're going to see a difference. So all the information for Plant Power, which is my program on helping you become almost a plant-based, is going to be in the show notes. The free trainings in the show notes, the links for the protein powders, the episodes we talked about, literally the free meal plan, all the resources for you are going to be in the show notes because I'm so passionate about this and I know how much it's going to support you. So I cannot wait. Please let me know how this resonated with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and I will talk to you soon.